We've got, what do we got? Here we go. Little James Bond talk.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, well, recently we've had inflammatory comments from Barbara Broccoli saying the people over at Amazon were effing idiots, and they couldn't land on where they wanted to go in a direction for James Bond. Yesterday, someone had asked what's more likely, a casting for Batman or casting for Bond. I'm leaning Batman.
Yeah, I think we all agreed it was going to be Batman.
Now we have a report saying James Bond reboot reportedly planning divisive move to appeal to younger audiences. The report goes on to say the future of James Bond has claimed that while discussions are still ongoing, let me move this over a little bit because we can't see it all. Sorry about that, guys. Just a little thing here real quick because I want you to be able to read it.
Okay.
Here we go.
The plan is to take the beloved action franchise back to the days of quips and camp.
Yeah.
First of all, Jonathan, I'm a lifelong Bond fan.
Mm-hmm.
The quips and camp era of Bond really began in the latter half of the Sean Connery films. You could say that You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever. Those movies became a little quippy. And then we get into the Roger Moore era. There's just outright comedy.
Yes.
And people, you have Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, Spy Who Loved Me, which is my favorite Roger Moore Bond film. And then by the time you get to Moonraker, it gets goofy.
I mean, it had already gotten goofy, but that was the jump the shark for me.
Totally. But here's my problem. As somebody who's loved the Bond franchise, there is a weird idea that I don't know where it's come from, that they need to appeal to younger audiences because these older franchises, remember there's 25 official Bond movies, and then there's other movies like Never Say Never Again. But the Bond franchise began in 1962 with Dr. No. It was based on Ian Fleming's series of books, Cold War thrillers. President Kennedy famously loved the Bond books. They were serious spy thrillers. But this idea that people seem to have, we need these older franchises, whether it's Doctor Who, whether it's Star Trek, whether it's Star Wars, which is going to be 50 years old in 2 years, or James Bond, we have to appeal to the kids. Here's what I don't like about that kind of thinking. And if they're saying that right now, do you know what appealed to me when I was a kid? James Bond, as James Bond existed, Sean Connery in Goldfinger, or You Only Live Twice, or Thunderball, or Dr. No, or From Russia with Love. As a kid, I loved them. Why is it, do you think, that everybody believes that, we have to go after the kid audience, and by doing that, then dumb down? I think the implication is we have to make them hipper than thou, and they call it memeable content. And you were saying something really interesting about this. Memeable content, you can't make something to be memeable. That's like setting out to we're going to make a Rocky Horror Picture Show.
It can't be prefabricated.
No.
It has to be natural. And by the way, those young audiences, they can smell a mile away if something's prefabricated or if it's real or if it comes like naturally from the source.
And when something becomes cool, when something comes out and becomes like a phenom, like Stranger Things, which was the Duffer Brothers, that was an original pastiche of the 80s. It had to be cool and awesome before anybody memed it. It has to capture the pop culture zeitgeist wave and ride it all the way into the shore before it becomes worthy of a meme.
Here's the problem. They're listening to the marketing team first when they should be listening to the creative team first. They should be taking in directors and getting ideas and writers and getting ideas of where it can go. Instead, they've got the marketing team over at Amazon saying, this is how we want to promote it. Make this. And they got the cigar. They're like, see, kid, we're going to go big places. See? It's like, dude, back out. We'll make the product. You market it.
Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Kickoff. January always feels like recovery mode, doesn't it? I mean, after all the holiday fun and, let's be honest, all the holiday spending, it can feel like a credit hangover. But don't worry, I've got the perfect solution to help you bounce back in 2025. Kickoff, the #1 credit building app in the App Store. Kickoff is a total game changer if you're looking to start building or improving your credit. Their plans? They start at just $5 a month. No credit check, no hidden fees, and no interest. Everybody's been there, guys. Trying to navigate credit can feel like a maze, but Kickoff makes it easy. You can sign up in minutes on your phone and be instantly set up with a credit line designed specifically for building credit, not for spending. And here's a fun fact. If your credit's under 600, you could jump around 28 points in your first month. It's that simple. Shake off the credit hangover and look forward to brighter credit with Kickoff. Get your first month for just $1 at getkickoff.com/Campea today. That's getkickoff, KIKOFF.com/Campea. Must sign up via kickoff.com/Campea to activate offer. Offer applies to new customers first month only. Subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions may apply. Points based on Equifax VantageScore 3.0 changes for Kickoff users starting under 600 who made their first on-time payment between January 2021 and March 2024. Payment and credit activity outside of Kickoff can have an impact on your credit. Individual results may vary.
But when they say, when somebody says we have to go to the quips version of James Bond, that means what? You're dumbing it down?
Which is so patronizing.
It's so patronizing. And already you've said to kids or younger people, hey, and by the way, what is driving content on platforms like YouTube? User-generated content. The audience are the creators.
Right.
And the thing is, people like us and like all of the myriad other YouTube creators here in this YouTube film Twitter space, call it what you want, we're the ones generating this content, and we want things that are good, that aren't trying to pander. We want great writers, we want great characters, we want great stories. And if you build it like that cornfield in Iowa with a baseball diamond in it,
then this must be heaven.
they will come.
Yeah.
And you know what? I hate this thinking. This thinking, you know what this thinking is? It's dumb thinking. It's easy marketing speak that somebody wants to throw out in a meeting because they think it makes them sound profound or smart. No, it just makes you out of touch and old. And I know what out of touch and old is. Trust me. But I'm not out of touch when it comes to James Bond. James Bond works when he is badass and he is a character that, saves the world, beds a lady, and kills the bad guy. I mean, he lives a life that we can't even imagine, or that we'd like to imagine, unless you're a crypto baron and you can live that life yourself.
I know.
How do you become a crypto baron?
It takes a lot of patience and time and conning people.
I'm never going to be that guy.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be a Bond villain. I don't want to be Bond. I want to be a Bond villain. I want to be somebody that Bond deems worthy to take down. How do I do that?
Well, you know what? The people over at Amazon are trying to figure that out now. But it just seems like, here's an interesting quote I wanted to bring up too. All right. So the Bond franchise is like a plot of land and Amazon is still building the foundations. Casting a star is far off as choosing curtains. Now this remark is very streamer friendly. COVID means movies make less money at cinemas now. No, COVID did mean that. It has been in an upward trajectory at the box office. We're not at 2019 levels yet, but we will get there in the next maybe 2 years or so. So although that's true. Some of the most deceitful statements come veiled in truth.
Yeah, well, this thing, the Bond franchise is like a plot of land and Amazon is still building the foundations. What they want to do is they don't want to put a James Bond movie in motion picture theaters.
Yeah.
Motion picture theaters? What else goes in theaters? They don't want to put movies in theaters.
It's a real fine picture.
That's what Amazon doesn't want to do.
And that's what's veiled in that one line right there.
And that's part of what Barbara Broccoli calling them idiots is all about. I mean, Bond has always made money. And if you look at the last, Skyfall was $1 billion film. Its follow-up, Spectre, made something like $800 million. And No Time to Die made a little less than that, but still very, very substantial. These are at the high end of theatrical releases. And the idea that they're trying to figure out,
yeah,
we're going to pay you less money. We're going to figure out a lesser back end because we're just going to put it on streaming.
Well, I think go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's inane. I mean, the Bond franchise, when it's at the top of its game, which it has been for pretty much the last 20 years, admittedly, I'm not a big fan of the Daniel Craig era. I loved Casino Royale, but the rest were sort of, and I'm a Quantum of Solace apologist, but the rest of the three movies, even though they made a lot of money, were too morose for me. I wouldn't mind seeing a few more quips and a little bit more fantastical Bond action.
So you're thinking more of like the GoldenEye era, maybe? Not so much Roger Moore?
No, I loved GoldenEye.
Yeah.
The only problem I had with GoldenEye was there's a whole 20-minute section where Bond isn't in it.
That's true.
But
I mean that tone.
Yeah, I thought that was a great tone. Give me some larger than life. I mean, Bond has to live the life of a crypto baron influencer. He's got to drive around in Manny Koshbin's cars. I mean, the Stradman, whatever. Somebody get him a Lambo. Why hasn't James Bond ever had a Lambo? I know.
It's Aston Martin, baby.
It's an Italian car,
well,
right?
going off real quick, just to round this discussion out, where you mentioned their focus is streaming, I think this is kind of revealing. I'm not opposed to this, though, on paper. But it says, what of the plans of spin-offs reportedly caused the disagreement in the first place? Rumors so far have claimed that a Moneypenny project. On its surface, that could sound absolutely awful, but we had Jarvis, we've had Pennyworth, Batman's butler, whatever. There could be something to Moneypenny, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is impossible that she is just some secretary for the most secretive agency in the UK, right outside the doors of the head of that agency. What did she answered
a secretary ad?
A secretary ad in the paper? No. I'm not saying she needs to be like, oh, let's make Moneypenny like a fighter and she's got a military background. No, but she's been through things.
She was in the field in Skyfall.
And what I think might be interesting, just me speculating, is what if this is a hidden in plain sight situation? MI6 has fallen, and literally the last thing that they have is Moneypenny. She has codes. That can unlock whatever, like assets or this or that or another thing or whatever. That she's actually like a hidden in plain sight asset. So I'm not saying she's going to go out and kick ass. I'm saying she's a high value asset.
You could. I just think that, the Bond, look, they want everything. Everybody wants to turn everything into a cinematic universe. Mm-hmm. And I've always said, the Burnett axiom is always put your characters before your universe.
Yeah, yeah.
And
they have to lead with that.
Yeah, they want to exploit it. I mean, why don't you concentrate on making your core character great? Mm-hmm. Let's do that, because otherwise, I mean, we have a John Wick spinoff coming out called Ballerina with Ana de Armas, who was great.
And we won't be getting an ad for that at the Super Bowl.
No, we won't. But no, she was great in No Time to Die. Mm-hmm. And one of the best things about that movie, unfortunately, you make a movie. Look, you're in trouble when you make a movie where your main character dies, and then in the end credits it says your main character will return. That's the problem where the Bond franchise is right now. I hope they, and that's true, by the way. It does say James Bond will return after he dies in No Time to Die. But I do think that Bond should come back, or is Bond, like M says in GoldenEye, you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a product of the Cold War. Maybe James Bond should go away.
Maybe. Well, the only other spinoff they talk about here in this article is it's not really a spinoff. It's an Ian Fleming biopic. And I would be 100% down for an Ian Fleming biopic.
Yeah, because he was a really interesting guy.
Fascinating life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're at, guys, with Bond. I think to answer the question yesterday, you were going to get Batman casting before you even hear anything about James Bond. But what are your guys' thoughts? Are you still looking forward to Amazon's iteration of maybe a more memeable James Bond? I know Rob isn't.
No.
But how do you guys feel about this? Jump down in the comments below. Let us know.